Hey guys, if you put a rhino, a carnosaur, and a crocodile into one animal, what would you get? Something with oversized fangs, a nose horn, and osteoderms, probably. Well done, you just described a Ceratosaurus. Ceratosaurus was a carnivorous beast, the weight of a hippo, and longer than the largest reptile alive today, the saltwater crocodile. However, it stood in the middle ground between heavyweight brawler and predator of speed and finesse. 6 to 8 meters long and around 1 metric ton in weight, Ceratosaurus was a medium to large sized theropod, and arguably one of the most iconic ones. It was discovered in 1883 or 1884 and was named Ceratosaurus, meaning horned lizard. This was due to the nose horn I already mentioned, which was unique amongst the fossils of the theropods discovered at the time. One species was originally named Megalosaurus because when scientists discovered a dinosaur for the first time called Megalosaurus, they decided to call almost any carnivorous dinosaur with no extreme distinguishing features that they found Megalosaurus. For this reason, the name Megalosaurus is nicknamed a wastebasket term, as it was always a plan B when a paleontologist thought it was just another theropod. Garbage names aside, let's have a look at Ceratosaurus crests. Ceratosaurus had one prominent nasal crest, almost at the tip of its upper snout. It also featured two smaller crests slightly ahead of its eyes, similar in position to those seen in Allosaurus. What these crests were used for isn't 100% clear, but we speculate that it used them to intimidate rivals, attract potential mates, or scare off other predators. This is why I gave the crests a vivid teal coloration, which might have stood out from the semi-arid floodplains of the late Jurassic. However, even this depiction is just guesswork, and there's no proof of Ceratosaurus having any certain color in its crests, as pigmentation is extremely scarce in the fossil record. Ceratosaurus also probably had reptilian scaly lips concealing its teeth. This is a theory that has been reintroduced by modern paleontologists for most theropods, including Tyrannosaurus and Allosaurus. These lips would have protected the layer of enamel present on each tooth, allowing these teeth to last longer. Though if they did fall out, they were probably replaced rather quickly. I also depicted the lips drawn back in a bit of a snarl, otherwise the gums wouldn't be so visible. This animal probably had pretty good eyesight in order to judge distances as well as attack angles using binocular vision. Let me drop a fun side fact to reinforce this idea. Searchlights used against bomber planes in the Second World War were virtually useless if only one searchlight hit a plane. This is because the single searchlight could not track the exact position of the plane, its altitude, or velocity. However, if a second searchlight locked onto the same plane as the first one, the geometric position of the plane would be found, and boom, the bombing assault was cut short. Similarly, when Ceratosaurus looked at fast-moving prey with only one eye, it would have been difficult to predict its movements. This meant that having eyes with overlapping vision would have the same crossfire effect, allowing the beast to accurately measure the prey's speed and distance. We call this binocular vision, and Ceratosaurus had at least some form of this. I drew its pupils similar to those of crocodiles for pure fun. I know dinosaurs probably had rounded ones, but I wanted to experiment. Let's talk about teeth. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call Ceratosaurus' teeth sabers because the top jaw had some absolutely massive gnashes in proportion to the theropod's head. They were still not built to crush bone like the later tyrannosaurs and would have likely snapped if pressed too firmly against hard cartilage or bones. However, they acted like enormous steak knives, cutting through tough hide and sinew with ease. They were serrated and would have allowed each tooth to slide into flesh with much less force than usual. Perfect tools for a hunter. Ceratosaurus had small arms, though larger in proportion to its body than those of T-Rex. Each hand had 4 fingers, which was a more primitive trait for the theropods of the time. In comparison, Allosaurus and Torvosaurus, which were carnivores that inhabited the same lands at the same time, around 161 to 146 million years ago, had 3 fingers on their hands instead. They were almost definitely large enough to serve some sort of purpose, perhaps to hold on to struggling prey. Ceratosaurus was almost certainly faster on its feet, but speed estimates varies, usually somewhere between 20 and 30 miles an hour. Very fast for a theropod the size of a hippo. This was made possible due to very powerful leg muscles that would have propelled the beast across the ground, in a similar manner as is seen in modern terrestrial birds like the ostrich. Ceratosaurus' lengthy tail would have allowed the animal to balance itself as well as turn quickly, but this might not have been its only purpose. Narrow and paddle-like, it might have helped Ceratosaurus swim relatively well, which is an adaptation that might have come in handy for this theropod in particular. Why do I say this? Let's look at another theropod of the time, one of the most famous dinosaurs, Allosaurus. Averaging 9 meters long and around 1.5 tons in weight, it was larger and heavier than Ceratosaurus. Large species like Allosaurus anax could even reach around 2 tons and 11 meters in length, likely too much for a single Ceratosaurus to handle. Allosaurus was a prime predator of almost everything available at the time. It probably had the speed to run down ornithopods like Camptosaurus, the power and social ability to gang up on heavily armed Stegosaurus and Camarasaurus, not to mention the bulk to scare rivals like Ceratosaurus of killers. Ceratosaurus was finding itself in a one-sided game of survival, where its opponent was one of the most successful predators of the Morrison, so it changed tactics. Better agility and semi-aquatic adaptations like a paddle tail allowed it to focus on fish and aquatic life, which was left untouched by Allosaurus, and this wasn't even the end. Ceratosaurus family was slowly evolving shorter arms and longer legs, as well as more robust, short snouts. So when the Ceratosauridae went extinct, a new descendant took its place, the Abylosauridae. This family dominated South America until almost the end of the Mesozoic era, whereas Allosaurus' relatives, the Carcharodontosauridae, only lasted until the mid to late Cretaceous, when they went extinct and gave way to the Tyrannosauridae, the Megaraptoridae, and of course the Abylosauridae. Yes, I'm sorry for the long history lesson, but as you can tell, Allosaurus did win the battle, but Ceratosauridae won the war. So now we're at the point where Ceratosaurus has undergone loads of phases in media. First, we have it being the punching bag of Allosaurus in documentaries and media, looking at you, Jurassic Fight Club, but this has been revoked. You see, the size difference between the average Allosaurus and Ceratosaurus wasn't so big that Allosaurus would thrash a Ceratosaurus in every battle, and people are finally making this fact known. Notable appearances of our horned friend are in documentaries like When Dinosaurs Roamed America, brief appearances in movies like the third Jurassic Park and so on. I can't even deny that the Jurassic franchise model of Ceratosaurus is just absolutely horrible. Ceratosaurus depictions in games usually tend to resemble the real animal. Path of Titans has one of the best models of Ceratosaurus, and the Isle has a stylized but pretty version of it. Other games like The Cursed Isle, Prehistoric Kingdom, and so on feature this animal. Also, I don't know about you guys, but I think Ceratosaurus was one of the most beautiful theropods. The shape of its face is just so iconic, and its crests coupled with those enormous teeth make for a dramatic silhouette. Aesthetic aside, I'm pretty happy with this drawing. There is one thing I could adjust, which is the shading behind the right leg. If I made that patch a little darker, I think it would give the animal a sense of realism. Also, I'll try making a more complex skin pattern next time, as the general image can look a bit unfocused otherwise. The animal's proportions look good to me though, and the skull shape seems correct. Thanks for watching until the end of the video. If you want me to draw a particular dinosaur or even another prehistoric animal, let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, why not leave a like? Also, please press the subscribe button if you want to see similar videos in the future. Thank you and see you in the next one.